Hello, and welcome on into another episode of the Digital Quill podcast with your host, Mars Wilson. I hope you guys are having a good month so far. It's September. I know a lot of people have birthdays in September. I was checking my Facebook birthdays the other day, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of birthdays toward the end of the year around September, October, November, and it always amuses me because I always do like the 9-month math before those months, and I'm like, well, I think I know what's been going down and why there's so many birthdays toward the end of the year. It's interesting. It kind of adds to the amusement of the journey of trying to like not be so pessimistic and negative about my own birthday. So yep. What do we got going on here today? Well, we are currently learning about bridges and how other stuff along that realm kind of works. I've always found it kind of fascinating in a way when we like compare and contrast things and like personify things and things that wouldn't otherwise have like human qualities of any kind, but like we add personification to stuff in such a way that helps us draw meaning and understanding through our surroundings and through ourselves and through other people. That's kind of what I like about storytelling in a way. And I was doing my note taking before the show, and that's a hint. I was also doing the before the show of this show, which means that specialized content I talked about in prior episodes. The time capsule content where I release a before the show, which is a shorter version of this show while I'm just preparing for the show, which might be something I start implementing in guests too, which is kind of something I have, but I need their permission for certain stuff. Anyway, it's a whole thing. We'll get to things that are whole things in other whole thing episodes. Let's see. Trying to make sure the coffee works, but I don't think it's going to. I have learned about how bridges work through the help of some researching. And there's different types of forces and tensions, and what's gotten me interested in trains and bridges and trains, especially the Lethbridge in Alberta, the viaduct that stands the test of time, which, by the way, this is a 2009 article. And I was checking, there's some current articles for the viaduct in Lethbridge, Alberta, which stands at 300, wait, hold on. Where's the bridge? Is it this? Is it about 314 feet above? Yeah, I think so. But, it's what's gotten me interested in how bridges work, and I'll share these articles and stuff with my own research at like the bottom, but at the bottom of the video description, which if you don't have it on your episode that you are watching, it's probably on another episode. Either check Substack, excuse me, or Substack, let's see. Substack, YouTube will probably have it. If you're on the audio only with the RSS feed, which is probably not where the description is, unless it's the video feed that doesn't have the description. I don't know. I need to check and then get the facts straight in my brain. But the links will be there somewhere. And I'll work on the links being on the other places too. But what's gotten me interested in bridges and trains is I compare myself to wanting to be a bridge for communication and people sometimes. Like that's one of the reasons, as you know if you've been here a bit, that I created like the community, or I want to create the community, is like so I can bridge other communities together for casual conversations that benefit both parties, or at least humanity on some form of level. And I've been thinking it's kind of silly that I use these attributes of bridges or like trains in like the form of communications, and I don't know very much about how they work. I don't have the knowledge handy of what a truss is, or suspension, or beam, or arch. But it's like, I don't know. I need to do some research, and then it might even help me like be able to form the thoughts better for like how I word these things. 'Cause let's be honest, as it states, and probably still states, I think it still states. I don't know. Let's find out, actually. Let's find out if it still states in my pinned post on Twitter X. Ooh, boy. Hanging on the edge of my seat. I'm fact-checking my own self. Oh, yes. It does still say that. Normalize telling your friends their first episode to their podcast sucks. All of them do. Let's be honest here. All of them do. Because I do not know how to speak correctly about anything. I am a mumbling idiot. And that is okay. It gives me a lot of room to grow and learn and mold myself into a much better person than I am now, because I'm not that great of a human being. I'm just human. That is my synopsis. I'm just human, trying to be the best human I can possibly be. Not who you can possibly be, that is up to you, but who I could possibly be, because I don't know. I can't move your limbs for you, or think your thoughts for you, or feel your feelings for you. I can do it with you. Not for. Alongside. But yeah, I think it's silly that I don't know how bridges work. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, maybe on some level I do. I have some base level knowledge or understanding somewhere, obviously, but now I need to grow that, because of course, in my thinking and in my reasoning and in my rationale, I was like, I think there's something going on here. I keep comparing bridges and communications and pillars and other stuff like that, and I'm like, what happens if I weave it all together? What happens if I put it in one beautiful smorgasbord of stuff? And it doesn't make sense how I got to where I got, per se. But here I am. Here I am, about to learn more about bridges, how they're built, why they're built, when they are useful, and trains. The same thing with trains, because this bridge, the most interesting bridge, I think, the one I just showed you the picture of, is huge. Like, down here is a little tiny truck. That's a truck, by the way. A truck. Oh, is that Aw, how cute. A sitting area. But yeah, that's a train bridge. A train goes on that. Trains go on that. And that is a wild piece of engineering. Strong piece of engineering. What kind of strengths and what kind of weaknesses go into something like that? And how could you compare them in a personified way to how humans operate? Through storytelling and actual thinking. Because it doesn't make sense when you are just like, well, why would you compare and contrast so much to an inanimate object that has no purpose other than to transport cargo from point A to point B, or an inanimate object that has no purpose but to support the object that is transporting cargo? But it does matter. It matters in a way because there's a video and a few videos, actually, when I was doing some research on financing and stuff like that. And I'll have to pull them up in a future episode somehow, some way. But there was, the way that they were talking about it, they were like, we compare, like, the money world, the financial world, to water almost. Because there's cash flow and there's drought. And, like, we use a lot of words that would be or similar or synonymous words are that would be synonymous to cash flow or like money or water. Like it's not an uncommon concept, and it's something interesting to kind of explore, because there is something to be said and had in those kind of areas of thinking, of experimenting and exploring. And furthermore, the other thing that got me thinking about this subject, and why I definitely most certainly need to be exploring it and experimenting with it and understanding it, is that I always get the ick. I get the ick when we talk about boundaries. And it's not because I don't believe in boundaries. I just don't necessarily like the way that we start out thinking about boundaries. Now, I don't know how to explain this, because I was thinking about it earlier. I was like, how do I explain where I'm coming from? Because I can't possibly be alone on this thinking, can I? Unless I am, then that would make me incredibly weird, but something tells me I might not be. When I originally started thinking about boundaries and working on how to handle those, and I'm still not perfect at it yet, I still have a long way to go when it comes to respecting my own and just boundaries in general, is I used to think of them as like walls. Like instead of bids for connection, I thought of them as stops to connection. I was like, well, boundaries technically sound like, a wall almost, and it's not that. Boundary isn't even really like an obstacle. It's not an obstacle that you have to like build to achieve. It's not an obstacle that other people have to pivot. It's not an obstacle, actually, like you might think, like you could think. It's more of a blurred line. So when you think of, not blurred line, before you race to the comments to scream at me, sit with me on this for a minute. What do you need for a bridge? What do you need for this train bridge right here? What protects the cargo from going from point A to point B? Look at how many pillars there are. Look at how many interconnecting lines are holding those pillars up and attaching those pillars to other pillars. Look at the tracks. How many boards are on the tracks right now? Look at the walls. The invisible boundaries that are protecting this train track and these trains and these passengers even. Like, this could be a passenger track. Could you imagine being 300 feet up in the air overlooking like houses and farmland and roads and that tiny little truck? Like, every one of those beams is also a form of an invisible boundary. Boundaries naturally exist. I think the way we've been framing it is they are something we have to search for entirely, and that is not entirely untrue. We might have to search for the boundaries. We might have to create them ourselves. However, I think boundaries naturally exist. I think it's a matter of trying to understand in what areas do they naturally exist, and how do you respect that? How do you respect the invisible line that is there and is always there and always true for everybody? Yourself, your neighbor, your friend. And I don't think we're really taught any of those skills anymore. So, thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, answer in the comments on that rationale and thinking. And then we will jump into... Nope. No, actually. Nah. On here, I had stories of my personal experiences in life involving psilocybin and MDMA. And I am not comfortable right now, even though I am open about those experiences and conversations with people. I am not comfortable as it stands at this very second, bringing up those stories. Because, I don't know how the YT is going to react, nor do I know how the Substack will react, or any of it. So I'm gonna test the waters in another episode. Not this one. Not the trains and bridges episode, because this is arguably more important to me than my experiences with MDMA and psilocybin as a form of experimentation with walls and bias and emotional trauma and baggage. Because there's a lot of science and studies examining how you can overcome or not overcome, but work through PTSD and CPTSD through psilocybin and MDMA drug trial experiments. And also therapeutic experiments, which is neither here nor there. Anyway, it is going to be an interesting episode, and actually I feel like there's a note here for me to contact someone who is a marijuana expert, in the form of they studied the psychology and the science behind it, which would be an interesting guest to have on, I think, and also have these conversations with, because you guys don't want to hear my personal stories and my own thoughts and rationale behind it without someone who knows more than me, who is well educated in that world, right? Okay, how about this? I don't want to do it without that. Ah, yes, and that also brings me to, I guess, my next note on here. I scratched out Mars's Kitchen and Dreamlight Valley Star Path. We'll get into different episodes later this week with those, or maybe next week. Instead, we are going to talk about that communications contract I've shown you. Let's go here. Let's go there. Let's go to my desktop. Go away. YouTube, thank you. Communications contract, which is an interesting way to put that. It's not actually the communications contract. It is more so an invitation, but whatever. I've talked about this in a prior episode. Instead, I have decided something else. I feel like, because I have a hard time reaching out for people, in the sense that I am perpetually terrified of asking people to be on the show, because I feel like I'm poaching, as I've stated before, and I don't want to just beg and plead, because it's autonomy. I don't want to feel like I'm forcing someone to do something. So I might create the same contract, just in reverse, and it is a copy and paste for what you can do if you want to be on the show. You can reach out to me to make it easy. It'll be fill in the blanks, and the blanks will be 4. There will be 4 blanks. One of the blanks will probably be your email or your Discord, and only those 2 things, because I don't do DMs very often, if at all. Those are scary places to be, okay? One day we'll have to do a DM reveal, just because I don't do DMs. Not anymore, especially not anymore. Holy crap. No, thank you. Not when we have other forms of communication. Not anymore. Let's see. Yeah. Start your podcasts, damn it. It's 19 minutes in. I can swear like a sailor now. Start them. Start them, please. For the love of all that is lovely and not. Start them. Why? Because I still want to have co-hosts and guests on. And actually, I think it would be a brilliant idea as a bottom of the barrel, has no income whatsoever to do anything, content creator, podcaster, writer, blogger, and future author of the 21 Days Gone novel. Start them. What the heck are you guys doing? If you have the means to do any sort of bare bones, start something. This is terrifying, I'm not gonna lie, but do it. Anyway, do the scary thing if it's not gonna hurt you. Please. because I know some of you have incredible voices, and I know some of you have awesome stories and incredible connections with people, and I do believe in the degrees of separation, which has been taught to me by a couple of people, and if you know who you are, pat yourself on the back right now. Self-validation. Anyway, start your shows. Start the Twitch streaming thing that you want to do. Start your blog. Start your community. I implore you. I beg you. We need that now in this world more than ever. And when you do, give me the name of your show. And maybe, just maybe, since you are, easier to approach since you're doing a show. No, I'm kidding. I can send you a DM and be like, hey, here is the invitation. Or you could do the same thing. You could literally be like, okay, I kind of like how Mars does that. Or another creator does that. And kind of just, build off of the bones of someone else's foundation. And by that, I mean, like, don't copycat people. Be you. You is important. You is very important. I think we all have the capacity to be bridges that bridge connections, and I also think we all have the great capacity to be pillars that keep those bridges secure. This is a wild, wild world that we live in. And on that note, my first live is coming up, and I gave myself a task. I have less than 24 hours at this point to do a rehaul on my branding. I am tired of looking at myself in my profile pictures. How fucking egotistic and narcissistic is that bullshit? I hate it. Anyway, goodbye, my face. Not gonna miss ya. I would love so much to be able to pay an artist to be able to do exactly what I'm envisioning. But the problem is I have the worst budget on the planet in the sense that I can barely afford my bills, and I do so somehow miraculously every month. So I can't pay anyone to bring my vision to life, unfortunately. I have to do everything by hand. I hate it, but here we go. So I have less than 24 hours to make that happen before my live tomorrow. My first live for the podcast. And it will be recorded and put up the same day. I'm probably going to be going live first thing in the morning, probably between, what is it time now? Okay, 9 o'clock-ish. Probably between 8 and 10 a.m. Sorry, I like being early. Wish me luck on the graphics, because it is not my strong suit. It takes me more hours to do that than to write anything at all. So that's going to be fun. Really dredging that work, but hey, just focus, Mars. You can do it. You already have some ideas ready to go. It just takes a lot of effort, and that is why I want to bring up this point. I feel weird asking for people's work when I have no way to support them other than through, hey, here's this person's work. Look at them, follow them because they're awesome. I hate that I can't do more than that. It bothers the ever-living soul out of me. So, if you wish to do so, you're going to have to play the million questions game with me. You're going to have to ask me what I'm looking for and produce it on your own time and your own way. Because I'm not going to ask until I have the means to essentially pay for you and your family to have a great life. That is just, I can't. I hate asking for help. So, on we trek. Keep going, humans of Earth. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Digital Quill Podcast. I believe we were on 67 today. Wow, what a number. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Keep going. Thank you for letting me share my time with you, and thank you in return for the same. And life is weird. Stay weirder. Bye. Excuse me. Great, I need to edit that.